أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Okay, we came to the spiritual ambience of Musa's encounter with God last night, and of course the mission Allah wanted him to carry out. Now the continuation of the story we take from Surah Ash-Shu'ara, because Surah Ash-Shu'ara is not concerned very much about what went before. It's concerned about what went after. So it starts like this: وَإِذْ نَادَى رَبُّكَ مُوسَى أَنِ ائْتِ الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ قَوْمَ فِرْعَوْنَ أَلَا يَتَّقُونَ. You see nothing about the story of childhood, what happened up till here. Nothing about إِنِّي آنَسْتُ نَارًا, I am seeing a fire, because now here what is the focus of this surah is the mission. Remember I said every surah deals with the story from a different perspective. Okay. إِذْ نَادَى رَبُّكَ مُوسَى أَنِ ائْتِ الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ قَوْمَ فِرْعَوْنَ. Go to the oppressor people, the people of Fir'aun. Are they not afraid of what they do? And you see how compressed this conversation is between God and Musa. It should have been a long conversation. Many things should have been said there. However, one thing which is said partially in different surahs is brought up here again. قَالَ رَبِّ إِنِّي أَخَافُ أَن يُكَذِّبُونَ. How are they going to believe me that I am a messenger from you? First of all, I fear that they may deny that I'm a messenger. وَيَضِيقُ صَدْرِي. My always problem, I get angry very quickly. If Pharaoh says something, I punch him, so to speak. So يَضِيقُ صَدْرِي وَلَا يَنْطَلِقُ لِسَانِي. I'm not so eloquent. How am I going to shoulder this responsibility? This is the position of someone who is quite concerned about what he's going to do, isn't it? You see, this issue of being a messenger is not an automatic thing that God just make you do it. No, it's a human thing. Humans are appointed for it. They have to do it. They have to think about it. They have to think how to do it. Just look how our Prophet carried out his message, how minute issues were taken care of by him, how concerned he was. I mean, this is human, isn't it? Now Musa is a human being. He's quite concerned about what he's going to do. Although God supports, but of course he has to have the ability to initiate things. So يَضِيقُ صَدْرِي وَلَا يَنْطَلِقُ لِسَانِي فَأَرْسِلْ إِلَى هَارُونَ. So send to Harun as well. أَرْسِلْ إِلَى هَارُونَ, make him a messenger as well, like me, which of course he was granted. This is, Harun is one of those messengers who has been a messenger by request of someone else, isn't it? Someone else requested that Harun to share his messengership. And then I do not forget, I have killed someone there in Egypt. لَهُمْ عَلَيَّ ذَنْبٌ فَأَخَافُ أَنْ يَقْتُلُونَ. I fear that as soon as they get hold of me, they kill me. This is what I wanted to do. That's why I ran away. قَالَ كَلَّا. Don't think about these things. فَاذْهَبَا بِآيَاتِنَا. I gave you signs, so do not fear of denial. Take my ayat with your brother. This is the concise sort of eloquence of the Quran's conciseness. قَالَ كَلَّا. First of all, they are not going to kill you. Secondly, فَاذْهَبَا. I grant you what you wanted with regards to Harun. بِآيَاتِنَا. You have signs, they are not going to deny you. And third and finally and most importantly, إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ مُسْتَمِعُونَ. I'm there. Don't worry about anything. I will hear what you say with each other. And therefore you will not be defeated in your argument. Okay, now what happened? Musa came down, took his family, went to Egypt. Of course, the first place he goes is the Medina to Ibrahim, to his family. Everyone welcomes him. Apparently, Pharaoh didn't want to somehow chase up the issue of that murder. And nobody cared about Musa now coming back to Banu Israel. And the first thing they had to do was to find a way to the palace. How they are going to let them into the palace. No Israelite like them were going to be let into the palace. So he and his brother, of course, in that appearance of shepherds or slaves, like Harun as a Banu Israel, one of the Banu Israel, and Musa in the appearance attire of a shepherd. They went to the palace. We want to see Pharaoh. Okay, they laughed at them. You want to see Pharaoh? Pharaoh is not going to see you. So apparently he told the God that tell Pharaoh that Musa is here. And this was, of course, the code name. Pharaoh really wanted to see what happened to Musa after he ran away. No one knew what happened. So he accepted to give them a presence. So when they went in, probably Pharaoh was somehow happy seeing Musa in this appearance, humiliated in his eyes. He was prince one day, now he's humiliated as a shepherd coming in. Probably he was thinking that he has come to apologize and say, I am the prodigal son, please take me back, I want to come to the palace. So what comes afterwards is something which surprises Pharaoh very much. And initially he thought that this is a joke. But then when things got a bit serious, he was somehow angry and afraid. فَأْتِيَا فِرْعَوْنَ. Go to Pharaoh. فَقُولَا إِنَّا رَسُولُ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Say, we are the messenger of God. Now, it's very interesting here. It says, إِنَّا رَسُولُ. Rasul is singular, isn't it? In Surah Taha, it says, إِنَّا رَسُولَ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. We are two messengers. The difference is that there, actually, the verse is looking at Musa and Harun separately as two individuals. Here is looking at one message which they are going to convey to Pharaoh. So, قُولَا إِنَّا رَسُولُ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ أَنْ أَرْسِلْ مَعَنَا بَنِي Israel. Send with us Banu Israel. Now, you remember we talked about the limitless mercy of Allah. And you know by now what atrocities Pharaoh had committed. With Banu Israel, with others, it was not only Banu Israel, because he wanted to make the pyramids, because he wanted to make those big statues which are still there in Egypt of himself. He had enslaved 10,000 from Libya, several thousand from other parts. And one of the main reasons that he enslaved Banu Israel was because he needed builders, he needed people working on these buildings which had huge costs for Egypt, so he wanted free labor. I mean, people were killed, they died, they were paralyzed working on these big statues, huge buildings, and all these things that Pharaoh did. Now look, when Allah sends Musa to Pharaoh, he says, اذهبا إلى فرعون in Surah Nazi'at. إِنَّهُ طَغَى. Go to Pharaoh. He is a rebellion. He has rebelled. He has rebelled against me, rebelled against humanity, rebelled against everyone. However, فَقُولَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيَّنًا. Speak to him softly. لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ أَوْ يَخْشَى. Maybe he is reminded about his human nature. لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ أَوْ يَخْشَى. Or maybe he gets some sort of fear in himself of God, and then he listens to you. And of course, if Pharaoh had Pharaoh listened to Musa, much of the later problems would have been solved. So initially what Allah wanted was to solve everything peacefully, to save Banu Israel, to save Pharaoh, to save Pharaoh's army. Everyone would have been saved if Pharaoh was not so stubborn. So فَقُولَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيَّنًا لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ أَوْ أَنْ يَخْشَى. Or in other verses, sorry, that was in Surah Taha. In Surah Nazi'at says, فقل له هل لك إلى أن تزكى فقال له هل لك إلى أن تزكى. Do you desire to become pure? Do you want to come out of this quagmire that you have? Of course, Musa never spoke with Pharaoh with this impolite language. Very politely. He was the king. Musa observed all the protocols of the way speaking to a king. فقال له هل لك إلى أن تزكى وأهديك إلى ربك فتخشى. Do you want me to guide you to your Lord so you fear him, you go back to him? Certainly he loves you because he created you. He loves you as he loves everyone else, so long as you do not continue with your rebellion. So this is the type of mercy that Allah had towards even Pharaoh. And there's a nice comparison. Pharaoh and his magicians, both were rebellions. I mean, magicians were even more rebels than Pharaoh was in a different way. The magicians accepted what Musa said and Pharaoh rejected. And magicians were saved. So this shows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not the type of angry God looking at everyone at the first instance of disobedience. He wants to destroy it. No, that's not the case. That never has been the case. I mean, you can see around yourself, many people say, why Allah allows all these things? Well, because Allah is Allah. It's not us. We are quick-tempered. We become angry very quickly. We want to do things very quickly. However, Allah's patience is limitless and His mercy is limitless. So, to Pharaoh, of course, when Musa went, initially they spoke very softly, very politely, that if you believe in what we say, you will have your kingdom. We don't want this kingdom. We don't want to be kings. We just want to save Banu Israel. This is our mission. If you do not believe in us, okay, fair enough. Just let me take Banu Israel out of here because I have a mission to take Banu Israel to another land. So here this is mentioned. An arsil ma'ana Bani Israel. Send with us Banu Israel. This is the ultimate thing we are asking from you. Now, the initial mission was towards both Banu Israel and people of Egypt and Pharaoh, of course. However, they said, okay, our first suggestion is that you believe you are saved and your kingdom will be saved. You will have the kingdom. You will have even more. The second suggestion is, if you do not believe, allow us to take Banu Israel with us. This is our mission. So, after all these discussions, we don't know how long this took. It probably didn't take one session only. After this, when Pharaoh saw that, no, this man is serious. It's not a joke. Musa is serious. And you may say, why didn't he order Musa to be killed immediately? Because he didn't want to kill Musa. Because still he had that mahabbah. Alqaytu alayka mahabbatan minni. He didn't want to kill Musa. But still, despite that mahabbah, he was so stubborn. Now, he started to say, bring family issues. Okay, قال ألم نربك فينا وليدا. You were a baby. We raised you. Now you have come to me like this and telling me that I have to believe in you. وَلَبِثْتَ فِينَا مِنْ أُمُرَكَ سِنِينَ. You stayed years of your life among us. You are so ungrateful to us now coming in this way. وَفَعَلْتَ فَعَلَتَكَ الَّتِي فَعَلْتَ. You did what you did. You killed one of us. وَأَنْتَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. And you were from kafirin to us. You did not appreciate the ni'mah. Now, many things, of course, Pharaoh said to Musa. And he was right, of course. He had raised Musa, he had done good to him, and all these things. Now, Musa, what he is going to tell him? قَالَ فَعَلْتُهَا إِذًا وَأَنَا مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. When I did this, I was not guided. I was not guided in the sense that I didn't know what to do with Banu Israel. I wanted to help. فَفَرَرْتُ مِنْكُمْ. Then you wanted to kill me. What should I have done? I escaped. I ran away. And then فَوَهَبَ لِي رَبِّي حُكْمًا وَجَعَلَنِي مِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. Then Allah gave me a mission, wisdom, prophethood, and a mission from Mursaleen. I have come to you. وَتِلْكَ نِعْمَةٌ. But let me tell one thing, very politely, with all due respect. You tell me that you raised me in your palace. You did all those favors to me. Why did I come to your palace in the first place? Why? Because you were enslaving Banu Israel, because you were killing their boys, their sons. وَتِلْكَ نِعْمَةٌ تَمُنُّهَا عَلَيَّ. You are bringing to my attention your favor. وَعَلَيَّ أَنْ أَبَّدْتَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيل. You enslaved Banu Israel, and then I was just one escapee, was someone who escaped from your tyranny. Now you are telling me that you did all these things to me. Now, as I said, we don't know how long this conversation was. Other aspects of this conversation are mentioned in other surahs. However, eventually Pharaoh said, okay, you talk about you are messenger of Rabbul Alameen. What is this? قال فرعون. You see, Pharaoh was quite an educated person, as Musa was. Educated according to standards of Egypt, of course. What the princes get education, and Pharaoh had that education, Musa had that education, and especially in theology. The princes were very well educated in theology. Now Pharaoh is asking, he wants to defeat Musa just with his own argument. The first thing he brought about, this emotional argument of family issues. Why are you coming against me? The second thing, okay, what is that which you are talking about? قال فرعون وما رب العالمين. What is رب العالمين? He says من رب. He doesn't say من رب العالمين. Who's رب العالمين? What is رب العالمين? Do you know why he says this? Because they didn't have the concept of رب العالمين. There is no such a thing in رب العالمين in Egyptian theology at that time. Every nation, every city, every field, every favor had its own Rabb. And that's why they believed in Arbab. And this concept of Rabbul Alameen is the core of Tawheed, that Allah is the sustainer of everything. They may have believed that everything was created by one thing, by God, the creator, but they did not believe that everything was sustained by that one God. And that's why Pharaoh said, I am the sustainer of Egypt. You have to believe in me as Rabb, not in God, creator, as Rabb. And every generation had their own Rabb, and every city has its own Rabb, and every favor has its own Rabb, rain has its own Rabb, oceans have its own Rabb, animals have their own Rabb. So, قال فرعون وما رب العالمين. What's رب العالمين? This is a new thing we are hearing about. قال رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما إن كنتم موقنين. He is the sustainer of heavens and earth if you have deep faith. Well, this was very funny, of course, for Pharaoh. Even for the mushrikun of Arab at the time of the prophets, they thought heavens have one Rabb, earth has one Rabb. قال لمن حوله ألا تستمعون. Now here Pharaoh found that high ground in argument. Look what he says. What is Rabbul Alameen? He thinks that the Rabb in heaven is the same as Rabb in the earth. قال ربكم ورب آبائكم الأولين. Now this was even more strange. That he is the Lord, the sustainer of you and the previous, your forefathers. Because they said every Pharaoh was the Rabb of their own generation. And here Pharaoh said, قال إن رسولكم الذي أرسل إليكم لمجنون. He is mad. What is he talking about? That's our forefathers had the same Rabb as you have. And this is what actually in other verses Pharaoh is bringing up again. ونادى فرعون في قومه قال يا قوم أليس لي ملك مصر وهذه الأنهار تجري من تحتي. These rivers actually flow because of me. I am the Rabb. ما علمت لكم من إله غيري. I don't know any ilah that you should worship except myself. So here it says he is mad, talking like this. Yes, of course, in that theology, nothing like this fitted. And then قال رب المشرق والمغرب, the Lord of all cities, not only one city, all cities. Now, in our mindset, this seems very strange. But if you read the history, you see, for example, when they wanted to attack a city, the first thing they did, they wanted to appease the wrath of that city. For example, in the ancient Rome or ancient Greeks, when they wanted to attack a city, the first thing the commander did, they went towards the city, they talked to the rab of the city and said, if you help us defeat this city, we will build a better temple for you in our city. And this is how actually we had international arbab, international gods. A god was worshipped in, for example, Persia, then you saw a temple of it in Egypt, and a temple of that, a god of Egypt in Rome. Why? Because they had pledged to these lords. So he's Rabbul Mashriq wal Maghrib, the Lord of East and West. قال لئن اتخذت إلها غيري لأجعلنك من المسجونين. Now this is the end of argument. As I said, we don't know how long this went, how many days, because this is a very long argument, very long discussion probably. And eventually he said, if you take any lord beside me, I will put you in prison. So Pharaoh, we can guess, immediately after he saw Musa, Pharaoh forgot Musa for his crime that he had committed before, because he doesn't bring it again here, that I will kill you because of that murder. Because of your religion, I will put you in prison. If you do not worship me and worship anything beside me, I will put you in prison. قال أولو جئتك بشيء مبين. What if I have a clear sign, clear reason? He said, okay, what is your clear reason? What's your clear sign? And you know that he's through his staff and it became a serpent, then the hand, the shining hand. And now this was very amazing. People of Egypt were very well versed in magic. They knew what is magic. Even Pharaoh himself was a magician. Not, of course, a first standard magician, because in palace they all learned magic. However, there was something different. Two completely different types of magic it was. One, that the stuff becoming serpent, and then the shining hand. The shining hand, they couldn't do anything about it. It was probably very difficult for any magician to do that. However, the other one, they had seen something similar to that with magics. So, first of all, they were very afraid and they didn't know what to do. Pharaoh was convinced, Pharaoh himself was convinced that this is not magic. This is something beyond magic. So he was pondering what to do. So قال للملأ حوله, after pondering a long time, probably several days, قال للملأ حوله, he summoned his people, his ministers, إن هذا لساحر عليم. This is a very, very well-versed magician. This is not someone who we can actually compete with. We don't have anything here to put against him. يريد أن يخرجكم من أرضكم بسحره. Now, this allegation, you never ever Musa said that you have to go out of this land. Musa said, I want to take out Banu Israel. Here, Pharaoh makes an allegation, and he actually establishes this allegation by his propaganda that he wants to expel you from your land. He wants your land. This was utter lie, okay? He wants your land. He wants to throw you away. فَمَاذَا تَأْمُرُونَ? What should we do? Now, the ministers don't know what to do. This shows the sign was so strong that they could not just reject it right away. They didn't know what to do. These ministers don't know what to do. Why I say that? Because in another surah, in Surah A'raf, the Mala go out to their own counselors and to their own advisors, and they say the same thing. قال الملأ من قوم فرعون إن هذا لساحر عليم. Exactly, they actually duplicate what Pharaoh told them. They go to their advisors, they have different councils from all different sorts of advisory boards. What should we do with him? قال الملأ من قوم فرعون. Now this Mala, these ministers went to their own advisors. What should we do? This is a very, very well-versed magician, and the advisors gave them advice. They came back to the palace and they gave advice to Pharaoh now. What to do? قالوا أرجح وأخاه. Postpone any decision about him and his brother. وابعث في المدائن حاشرين. And send emissaries to all cities of Egypt. يأتوك بكل سحار عليم. They bring knowledgeable sahar. Sahir is of course a magician. Sahar is someone who exceeds anyone in this knowledge of sihr. Okay, يأتوك بكل سحار عليم. They bring these knowledgeable people. This shows in Memphis, which was the capital, they didn't have anyone who could actually cope with this magician, so to speak, as they said. Now, this took probably several weeks, a couple of months, even more, probably 4 months, 5 months, to go to all areas of Egypt, finding the right people, right magicians, bringing them those whose fame everyone knew about, and they brought these. How many they were, we don't know. We don't know how many magicians they brought, but they were quite a big number of magicians. They collected and they brought to Egypt. Now, in this, what happened in these 5-6 months or few months that they were collecting? فأرسل فرعون في المدائن حاشرين إن هؤلاء لشرذمة قليلون وإنهم لنا لغائظون. Pharaoh, of course, sent Hashirin. This Hashirin, of course, alludes to a different time, but this time which these people went, collected, grabbed all these magicians, brought them to the capital, Pharaoh, Musa had a very good time with Banu Israel. He lived in his city, among Banu Israel, preaching, along with Harun, and he gathered lots of followers. Of course, not everyone in Banu Israel believed in him, but many believed in him, and some people from Egypt also believed in him. So this was a very good few months for Musa to spend preaching his mission, inviting people to Tawheed, because Banu Israel had started to worship gods of Egypt, because they thought that, well, our God is so weak. All our problems is because of our religion. So if we worship their gods, if we convert to their religion, our position will be better. And this is what had happened. And this is why when they went out of Egypt, they asked Musa for a god, isn't it? قالوا يا موسى اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم آلهة. We want the God to worship like Egyptians. They did. So anyhow, this was a good time. فجمع السحرة. Now you may say, why Pharaoh didn't kill Musa? Because he was afraid. Because he didn't know what will happen if he kills him. He wanted to make sure that this is not magic. Of course he was sure, but he wanted to resist up to the last moment to make sure that this is not magic. Because if Musa was right, he would have been destroyed. So he didn't want to do that. He wanted this to happen in a better way. So he kept them, and this is the advice he was given. أرجح وأخاه. Do not do anything, do not make any decision, and just postpone decision until these magicians come. So فجمع السحرة لميقات يوم معلوم. These magicians were gathered for the specific day which was appointed by both of them. As I said, every surah, because it has a specific aim of mentioning the story, parts of the story are left out. Now in Surah Taha, this is reported in this way. قال أجئتنا لتخرجنا من أرضنا بسحرك يا موسى. Pharaoh said, you have come to expel us from our land. As I said, this was allegation. This was something that Pharaoh had made up. فَلَنَأْتِيَنَّكَ بِسِحْرٍ مِثْلِهِ. After, of course, he had made the council, he summoned Musa. And Musa was waiting for a response, for a reply, and hoping that Pharaoh will give the positive reply. He said, okay, yes, I agree. And it was very good, because Pharaoh was someone who had done favor to Musa as well. It was very good. However, he summoned him. And when he summoned him and his brother, they were waiting to listen what is Pharaoh is going to say. After all those counsels and advisors and all these things, قال أجئتنا لتخرجنا من أرضنا بسحرك يا موسى. You have come here with your magic to expel us from our land. فلنأتينك بسحر مثله. We will bring the same magic as you have. فاجعل بيننا وبينك موعدا لا نخلفه نحن ولا أنت مكانا سوى. In a very clear place, make an appointment, and we would not miss that appointment. You should not miss that appointment. We come there and we will contest against each other. قال Musa, of course, was very disappointed. You can just imagine how disappointed Musa became after hearing this reply from Pharaoh. قال okay, no problem. موعدكم يوم الزينة. Yom Zina was a big celebration in Egypt. That it was a big public holiday and everyone went out. So موعدكم يوم الزينة وأن يحشر الناس ضحى. In the morning, everyone should come. So everyone from around capital, in the capital, Banu Israel, Coptic people, Egyptians, they all gathered in that huge arena of in Yawm Zina. And then فَتَوَلَّى فِرْعَوْنُ فَجَمَعَ كَيْدَهُ ثُمَّ أَتَى. Then Pharaoh turned away, collected his deception, his trick, and the magicians, and then came back. So this was a sort of going and coming and negotiations, discussions, and all these things. Now, these magicians, when they came, first they said that we want to see this man. We want to see how he speaks. We want to see how he acts. We want to see how he behaves. And Pharaoh said, okay, take them to Medina to Ibrahim, and let them stay there for whatever time they want. They went to Medina. Musa was preaching. Musa doing his own daily activities, and they observed and observed and observed. And then they came to the conclusion that this man is not a magician. This man is not a magician. I mean, they could have recognized who is a magician, who is not a magician. It was easy for them. These were the cream of all magicians of Egypt. So they came to that conclusion. And they started to think inside, should we really contest against this man? The face showed that he was not a magician. Just like when Prophet arrived in Medina, Abdullah ibn Salam, who was a Jew, he said, I went to see who is this Prophet coming to Medina, and everyone is talking about him. And as soon as I saw him, I had a glance at his face. قلت في نفسي ما هذا وجه كذاب. This face is not a liar. This is not the face of a liar. So he recognized. Here, these magicians recognized immediately that this is not, especially seeing the way he preached, what he said, what he invited people to, is very strange. So what they decided was to go to Pharaoh and tell him that, look, this is not a good idea to contest against Musa. However, the publicity, the force of Pharaoh was behind them. And this is why here when they all came to that arena to contest. قال لهم موسى, Musa said to the magicians, ويلكم لا تفتروا على الله كذبا. Do not allege lies against God. فيسحتكم بعذاب. He will punish you severely. وقد خاب من افترى. Whoever makes allegations will be disappointed. And he knew what he's telling them. And that's why فَتَنَازَعُوا أَمْرَهُمْ بَيْنَهُمْ. They started to argue among themselves. وَأَسَرُّوا النَّجْوَى. Without Pharaoh knowing, they started to say, we shouldn't fight. However, then Pharaoh came, قالوا إن هذان لساحران يريدان أن يخرجاكم من أرضكم بسحرهما ويذهبا بطريقتكم المثلى. Two things they want to do. First, they want to expel you from land. Secondly, they want to destroy your religion. فَأَجْمُعُوا كَيْدَكُمْ ثُمَّ أَتُوا صَفًّا. So go ahead. Now, of course, later on, these magicians say to Pharaoh, مَا أَكْرَهْتَنَا عَلَيْهِ مِنَ السِّحْرِ. You forced us to see this magic. We didn't want to do it. And their argument there was, because here Pharaoh pledged to these magicians. He said, go ahead. Okay, you say that he is not a magician and you don't want to fight him. But go ahead. If you win, then I will be vindicated and you will be, of course, because they said, قالوا أئن لنا لأجرا إن كنا نحن الغالبين. Do you give us any reward if we win? He said, قال نعم وإنكم إذا لمن المقربين. You will become magicians of the court. You live in the palace forever. You will have stipend and whatever you want. So he said, okay, if we win, I give you whatever I had promised you. If you lose, then all of us believe in him. Nothing will be lost. All of us believe in him, including myself. So he pledged them. So they went forward. And قال لهم موسى ألقوا ما أنتم ملقون. Musa, oh, time flies here. It was the end of our time. This story of Musa is very long, of course. We couldn't finish it in 5 nights. I knew from the beginning. Okay. Okay, Musa told them, now, they wanted to show their confidence. Of course, they had lost their morale, but they wanted to show their confidence. قالوا يا موسى إما أن تلقي وإما أن نكون نحن أول من ألقى. You want to start first or we start first? Showing that we are not afraid. You do first. Musa said, no, you do first. قال بل ألقوا. قال لهم موسى ألقوا ما أنتم ملقون فألقوا حبالهم وعصيهم وقالوا بعزة فرعون إننا نحن الغالبون. Now they brought a religious thing in عزة فرعون. It was religious, of course, because Pharaoh was the Rab. According to that theology, Pharaoh was holy. They said, بعزة فرعون, we will win. So they threw their ropes and their stuff, and they became like serpents, and they actually created something which was unimaginable. This is what is mentioned in Surah A'raf. As I said, because this surah has another name, doesn't mention that. But in Surah A'raf, it mentions the way no, it's not in Surah A'raf, it's another surah. It says that وَجَاءُوا بِسِحْرٍ عَظِيمٍ فَلَمَّا أَلْقَوْا سَحَرُوا أَعْيُنَ النَّاسِ وَاسْتَرْهَبُوهُمْ وَجَاءُوا بِسِحْرٍ عَظِيمٍ. What they did, they spelled eyes of the people and they frightened everyone. The whole plain was just running with serpents and snakes and things that was really frightening. وَجَاءُوا بِسِحْرٍ عَظِيمٍ. When Allah says sihr azim, it should be really great magic they did. And even فَأَوْجَسَ فِي نَفْسِهِ خِيفَةً مُوسَى. Musa was set aback seeing that. He was set aback. The way they horrified everyone, in that plain. And then as soon as he فَأَلْقَى مُوسَى عَصَاهُ فَإِذَا هِيَ تَلْقَفُ مَا يَأْفِكُونَ. Musa threw his stuff and it swallowed everything. فَأُلْقِيَ السَّحَرَةُ سَاجِدِينَ. Now the magicians who were hesitating before, they prostrated. قَالُوا آمَنَّا بِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. As I said, Rabbul Alamin was not a concept they were familiar with, but here they actually defined it in a very nice way. Rabb Musa wa Harun, whatever Musa and Harun say. قالوا آمنا برب العالمين رب موسى وهارون. Now, what should Pharaoh do here? You see, hundreds of thousands of people are watching. They have come for this big day on Yawm al-Zina. And as Allah says, فَغُلِبُوا هُنَالِكَ وَانْقَلَبُوا صَاغِرِينَ. Pharaoh had nothing to say. He was so humiliated that he just, without any word, he went back to the palace. فَغُلِبُوا هُنَالِكَ وَانْقَلَبُوا صَاغِرِينَ. Humiliated, they went back. Now they have to think a little bit about what had happened. What should we do? Now, this was a big defeat. So the first thing Pharaoh did, he summoned the magicians. Why did you believe? Why did you prostrate? They said, well, this was our condition, wasn't it? You told us that if we lose, we all believe in him. We lost. Now we believe in him. He's really a messenger. He's not a magician. Pharaoh said, okay, yes, I said so. But آمنتم له قبل أن آذن لكم. Before I say, you prostrated. See, this is now a pretext. What should he say? قال آمنتم له قبل أن آذن لكم. Before I give you permission, you prostrated. إنه لكبيركم الذي علمكم السحر. You know, he's a teacher. You made the plots. You wanted to humiliate me. إن هذا, in other surahs, إن هذا لمكر مكرتموه في المدينة. When you went to the city, to Medina, you made this plot against me. So I will kill you. I mean, allegation is free, isn't it? Pharaoh could have made any allegation. إن هذا لمكر مكرتموه في المدينة لتخرجوا عنها أهلها فسوف تعلمون. Soon you will know. When I cut off your hands and your feet and I crucify you, you will know. Now, what this magician said, this is very interesting, and I think this is the best point that we would finish. These magicians really believed in God, really believed. And they were not to waver now. Inna amanna, what they said, Inna amanna birabbina liyaghfira lana khatayana. We now believe in our Lord, and we hope that He will forgive whatever sin we have done. وَمَا أَكْرَهْتَنَا عَلَيْهِ مِنَ السِّحْرِ. And what you forced us doing this sihr against Musa, we want Him to forgive us. And in Surah Taha, it's very beautifully put in this way. That's إِنَّا قَالُوا لَن نُؤْثِرَكَ عَلَى مَا جَاءَنَا مِنَ الْبَيِّنَاتِ. We are not going to prefer you over clear signs that has come to us. وَالَّذِي فَطَرَنَا, and the one who has created us. Now, these are the people who were sinners all through their life, isn't it? They were mushrik all through their life, and they were sinners because sihr is a great sin. And now they are old, and they believed, and look, what a believer. فَقْدَ مَا أَنْتَ قَاضٍ. Issue whatever verdict you want. إِنَّمَا تَقْضِي هَذِهِ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيا. You only can do things in this world. إِنَّا آمَنَّا بِرَبِّنَا لِيَغْفِرَ لَنَا خَطَايَانَا وَمَا أَكْرَهْتَنَا عَلَيْهِ مِنَ السِّحْرِ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى. And they were killed, and how lucky they were. As I said, Pharaoh could have been as lucky as these magicians, because he had done all those evils throughout his life. Had he believed, he would have been forgiven. And these magicians were lucky because of their response to what Musa brought them. And this tells us in this Ramadan that no matter what we have been, what we have done, inshallah, if we really, really go to God and repent, He will completely erase whatever we have done in the past. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين. And the rest of the story, inshallah, for some other time. Because now it's the interesting part.
As Brother Ali said yesterday, you always leave us on a cliffhanger. And perhaps we can finish the story of Nabi Musa alayhi salam in our Thursday Quranic interpretation sessions here. And we'll, inshallah, on the Facebook page and through text and what have you, we'll let you know when we start it, inshallah. So we have about 6 to 8 minutes for questions and answers. And just before we do that, probably not a good idea to give me a mic because I speak a lot. But I think this is an important point that perhaps you didn't emphasize because there are so many points to emphasize from the story of Musa. And I must admit, you ended on a very, very nice note. The verse, perhaps one of my favorite verses is فَقُولُوا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. That's when I first heard this verse, it reduced me to tears, I must admit. And the reason why is because Fir'aun, who proclaims that he is God, and all this adab and oppression to all these Bani Israel, all these people, and yet because of the fact that he raised Musa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him, despite all this, despite the fact that he tells people that he is God, and he is the biggest kafir and biggest mushrik, and all that he's done, the fact that he brought you up, don't speak to him in a bad way. That just amazed me. The more I ponder about this is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him, one of his biggest enemies, tells Musa, don't talk to him in a bad way. And all this is because he brought you up. He's not even his biological father. This is just amazing. Anyway, I think we open the floor to questions and answers. Sisters have been very quiet. We don't bite, honestly.
So a question not directly related to today's talk, but how did Prophet Musa get named Musa, and what does Musa mean?
Musa is a Coptic name. It's not even a Hebrew name, because this name was given to him by Pharaoh. And when they found him, of course, they didn't know what was his name. And Musa, as long as I can remember now, because I read this long time ago, refers to something related to water and vegetation in the water, because he was found there. And that's why he was called Musa, as far as I can remember. Yeah. But it's not a Hebrew name. It's a Coptic name. Yeah.
Assalamu
Alaikum assalam.
Musa's, when he was sent out as a prophet, his religion was for all mankind. So why in the Quran and in the Torah they emphasize so much on Bani Israel?
No, the religion, of course, the message was for everyone, for Pharaoh, for others. One of his missions was to save Banu Israel from that plight that they were in. And that's why all the time he says, Arsal ma'aya Bani Israel, send out Banu Israel with me. And Pharaoh had gone mad. I mean, he just wanted to resist sending out Bani Israel at any cost, because now it had become a sort of issue of reputation for him, that I will not be defeated from Musa. However, yes, of course, he had a global message. And what Quran says is that Banu Israel actually concealed and monopolized this global message for themselves. And Allah condemns them that you have monopolized it for yourself. And you see what has become of this religion. Only 14 million people around the world believe in this religion, which is the religion of God, of course, and they have monopolized it for these 14 million people, isn't it? And they have made it a racial sort of religion rather than anything else. Alaikum assalam.
There's a hadith from the Prophet that says, speaking to Allah, it says, أنت مني بمنزلة هارون من موسى ولكن لا رسول الله. Can you elaborate on that? Why the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, you know that Harun was the brother of Musa, but Ali wasn't the brother of Musa.
Because he was waziran min ahli, isn't it? وَاجْعَلْ لِي وَزِيرًا مِّنْ أَهْلِي. Make a wazir from my own family. So in that case it was Haruna Akhi. In this case, of course, is Ali, my cousin, isn't it? But it was Waziran min Ahli. And also in every issue when Musa wanted to leave Banu Israel, he left Harun in his place, and this was the case with Ali ibn Abi Talib even after the demise of the Prophet.
So I'm guessing Banu Israel in this time are Muslim, because if he compares Harun and Musa, Imam Ali and the Qawm of Prophet Muhammad are Muslims, so whatever happened to Banu Israel also would happen to Muslims to some extent. Do you agree with that? Or
Well, we hope not, but
there seems to be so much mention of Banu Israel and what happens to them. If you look at the Muslim Ummah, we seem to be making sort of similar mistakes. And Banu Israel left the Prophet after when the Prophet went to the mountain, they turned their backs. And the same thing happened when the Prophet ﷺ died, they turned their back on Ali. So are we heading in the same sort of...
I don't say that we are heading the same direction, but I say that if we head the same direction, we will have the same destiny. Allah does not discriminate between different nations and different people. However, one thing which is good about our religion is that we didn't monopolize it to a certain race or to a certain people, and therefore the global aspect of it is in place. Certainly in a big ummah like Ummah of Islam, you cannot expect that everyone is 100% guided, everyone is on the right path. What we have to try to do is try to bring everyone on the right path in the ummah. I mean in the ummah, not in the Shia or in the Sunni or whatever. In the ummah, we have to try to bring everyone on the right path. And this, of course, needs patience, this needs forbearance, this needs tolerance, and all these things to bring people to the right guidance, inshallah. And we hope that even if we go some of those ways, inshallah, we are helped by Allah and don't become from the maghzubun alayhim. Because if we go that way, we are from the maghzubun alayhim. Alaykum salam.
Thank you very much for all these days and all this information. The role of Harun, Musa asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, اجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي. The role of Harun in the palace, like with Pharaoh, what was his role probably? Like I know إشراك الأمر with Musa and كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك طويلا.
Yeah, نذكرك كثيرا. نذكرك كثيرا means that we mention you among the people abundantly. That means we bring your remembrance to the, not that we individually, in the case of Musa and Harun, of course. It means that if you put us together, make a team of us, then we can talk about you a lot among people, and we can invite people. This is the meaning of وَنَذْكُرَكَ كَثِيرًا. otherwise it would have been better to say وَنَشْكُرَكَ كَثِيرًا rather than نَذْكُرَكَ كَثِيرًا. However, one of the reasons Musa actually wanted Harun to be with him was to support him with his eloquent sort of a speech. He was very eloquent in preaching, in inviting people to faith. Apparently, in the palace, Harun was there just to support, because whatever Quran quotes for us is Musa is speaking, Harun is not speaking. And probably Pharaoh didn't want to talk to Harun at all, because he was one of Banu Israel, had no relations with Pharaoh. Pharaoh looked himself much beyond that, talking to Harun. So in the palace we see that it's only Musa who is speaking. And this is certainly because he said, رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي وَاحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِسَانِي. He was given all this. قَالَ قَدْ أُوتِيتَ سُؤْلَكَ. You are given. So all that problems that he had before, if they were problems, they were human qualities, okay. All they went away. So he could speak very eloquently in front of Pharaoh. He could elaborate on those things. So in palace, Harun was there just to say that we are one messenger. We, both of us, are one messenger. However, outside the palace, of course, Harun was just an extension of Musa alayhi salam, and even a better speaker than Musa was himself.
There is a story when Musa was, when they took him from the river, that I don't know if this is one of the Israeliyat or is a true story, that they wanted to find out if he is a normal child or a different child, and they examined him, like they gave him coal, fire coal, and they give him pomegranate, so which one he's going to choose, and then he had eaten the fire coal. Is that a true story, or? It's
in traditions. It may be true, we don't know. Because
he couldn't speak, and that's why he says,
yeah, this is one account that he had sort of stuttering. He couldn't speak very clearly because of that. But because that's not 100% reliable account, I did not mention it at all. But it is in traditions, yes.
Sheikh, I was very interested in something you said on the first night, when you said that generally the prophets are people of the country, they're not people of the city. Does that mean that it's more difficult to be spiritual in the city?
Well, apparently yes, isn't it? I mean, so many commitments, so many troubles in the city, and also luxuries, and used to many different things which are not certainly occupying the time of people in the countryside. So maybe, I don't know. But it's not good, or I mean, in traditions we have that it's not good to live in countryside if you can live in cities, because usually cities are the centers of education, centers of culture, centers of knowledge. And that's why we are advised always to come to these centers rather than living in countryside. However, I mean, for the case with prophets is different, because I mean, those people that Quran quotes in the were authorities in cities usually, that talks about, and they were really corrupt people. Prophets cannot come from them. But yes, from cities, one, Nabi Sulaiman, of course, came from a huge kingdom, isn't it? Kingdom of his father. Or other prophets of Banu Israel, they all came from cities. We cannot say, but usually they were downtrodden. They were not, except in very exceptional cases like Sulaiman, they were downtrodden people. They were from the poorer part of the society rather than the rich ones.